Gulmarg slopes are all natural slopes and a few gentle slopes of ski runs.
Hello and good evening. Well, Mumbai has been having a torrid time with the rains today, and added drenching seems to be in the offing for tomorrow as well. The Met Department has issued a red alert for the next 24 hours for the maximum city and the surrounding areas. We'll get you all the updates on Mumbai's monsoon misery on Newsnight tonight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark visit to Russia's Far East region and India, as well as Russia's 20th summit meet, which has led to 15 agreements and MOUs in areas as crucial as defense, energy, connectivity and logistics, which can take the friendship between the two old pals to new spheres of cooperation. But first, our headlines. India and Russia take their strong friendship further. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin hold the 20th annual summit-level talks in Vladivostok. Both countries exchanged 15 MOUs, agreements and statements. Big boost to energy and connectivity initiated. Sea route to be developed between Chennai and Vladivostok. President Putin strongly endorses India's stand on the Kashmir issue. India and Russia both against external influence in internal matters of any nation. The Russian top leader says India is one of Moscow's main partners. Pakistan's bid to disrupt peace in Jammu and Kashmir after 370 abrogation using infiltration and terrorism exposed. Two Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists nabbed. The Pakistani nationals disclose how Pakistan's army helped them infiltrate and how terror launchpads across the border are primed for a strike. India and Pakistan are on the same page related to the Kartarpur corridor though. 5,000 Indian pilgrims will be able to cross over for darshan every day without a visa. India expresses disappointment over Pakistan's unmoving stand, overcharging pilgrims and appointing a protocol officer. India seeks increase in number of daily pilgrims on special days and better security arrangements. Lethal explosion in a firecracker factory in Punjab's Batala and Gurdaspur district. At least 19 people killed and several others injured. Rescue and relief work is on. Several more people are feared to be trapped in the debris. Mumbai hit by torrential rains yet again. Local trains, traffic on roads badly impacted. Waterlogging in several low-lying areas. Many trains cancelled. The Met Department has issued a red alert as well, warning of heavy rains in Mumbai and its surrounding areas in the next 24 hours. Before beginning its journey for a soft landing on the south pole of the moon on Friday night, lander Vikram of India's Chandrayaan-2 mission successfully completes a second deorbiting maneuver. And Brexit brings the United Kingdom to the juncture of a mid-term elections. Prime Minister Boris Johnson proposes 15th of October as the date for the elections, just a fortnight ahead of the EU's deadline for a deal or no deal Brexit. Well, day one of Prime Minister Modi's Vladivostok visit proved to be a landmark occasion in history of what one may call a landmark friendship between India and Russia. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin participated in the 20th India-Russia Annual Summit. They reviewed the full range of India-Russia relations. Diversification of traditional ties was top of the agenda. The biggest breakthrough came in the energy and connectivity sectors. More in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin infusing India-Russia ties with new energy. What was visible was the special chemistry the two leaders share. This was the first visit by any Indian Prime Minister to Vladivostok, and day one of the visit saw President Putin spend almost the entire day with Prime Minister Modi.
हमारी स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप ना सिर्फ हमारे देशों के स्ट्रेटेजिक हितों को काम आई है, बल्कि इसे हमने लोगों के विकास और उनके सीधे फायदे से जोड़ा है। हमारे रिश्तों को हम राजधानियों के बाहर भारत के राज्यों और रूस के क्षेत्रों तक ले जा रहे हैं। यह कोई ताज्जुब की बात नहीं, क्योंकि एक और मैं लंबे अरसे तक गुजरात राज्य का मुख्यमंत्री रहा हूं और राष्ट्रपति पुतिन भी रूस के रीजन्स की क्षमताओं और संभावनाओं को भली भांति जानते हैं।
The 20th India-Russia summit talks topped the agenda. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was honored to be the first ever Indian Prime Minister to visit Vladivostok and thanked President Putin for inviting him. Calling for an independent, secure, peaceful, integrated and democratic Afghanistan, Prime Minister stressed on the fact that both India and Russia are against outside influence in the internal matters of any nation.
हम दोनों ही किसी भी देश के आंतरिक मामलों में बाहरी दखल के खिलाफ है। हमने भारत के फ्री, ओपन और इंक्लूसिव इंडो पैसिफिक के कंसेप्ट पर भी उपयोगी चर्चा की।
15 documents including 13 MOUs and agreements and one B2B agreement have been exchanged in presence of Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. These include a strategy document for trade and investment. The most significant breakthrough was in the energy sector. 4 agreements were inked in this field alone, including an agreement to boost mutual investments on oil and gas sector and another for the joint development of downstream LNG business and LNG supplies. The other documents include an intergovernmental agreement on joint production of spares for Russian or Soviet-made military equipment, an MOU for joint audiovisual production. An MOU has been inked in the field of transport, another to facilitate maritime traffic from Vladivostok to Chennai. A customs agreement as well as an understanding in the field of geology have also been exchanged. India and Russia have entered into an agreement between investment funds as well as strategic initiatives with FICCI. An agreement for coking coal extraction and one B2B agreement was also exchanged.
हमारी मुलाकातें बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हैं और उनका ऐतिहासिक महत्व भी है। दोनों देशों के बीच यह 20वां एनुअल समिट है। पिछले लगभग 20 सालों में जब आपने रूस का किसी न किसी रूप में नेतृत्व किया है, तो इस व्यवस्था ने हमारे संबंधों को 21वीं सदी के अनुरूप ढाला है और उन्हें हमारे लिए ही नहीं, विश्व के लिए प्रगति, शांति और स्थायित्व का एक विशेष कारक बनाया है।
The day began with Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the Zvezda shipbuilding complex. Russian President Vladimir Putin played the perfect host, accompanying Prime Minister Modi to the complex. The warm chemistry between the two leaders was visible as they took a ferry ride to the shipyard.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin used quality time on a ferry to transport the India-Russia relationship into new waters. It now stands on 2 new pillars. One is energy and the other the Eastern Economic Forum platform.
Zvezda complex project is of strategic importance for the far eastern region and the domestic shipbuilding industry in Russia. Both leaders visited an exhibition at the shipbuilding complex. During the visit, President Putin showed Prime Minister Modi cutting-edge technologies at the shipyard. In a tweet, PM Modi said, and I quote, "Deeply touched by President Putin's gracious gesture to accompany me to Zvezda shipyard, which is poised to make a huge contribution to development of Arctic shipping."
Сегодня мы с господином премьер-министром посетили.
Mr. Prime Minister and I visited the shipbuilding yard Zvezda in the city of Bolshoi Kamen, where the nuclear-powered submarine was modernized at some point that was adopted in 1988 to the Navy of India under the name of Chakra. That is also the place where the Indian crew of the submarine was trained. Not only does Russia supply armaments to India, together with Indian partners, we produce the state-of-the-art military purpose products. We're implementing joint products on producing in India Kalashnikov small arms and Ka-226T helicopters and missile systems.
Достигнутый уровень двустороннего военно-технического сотрудничества и готовы к его дальнейшему.
Day 1 also saw PM Modi take a trip down memory lane, sharing moments from 2001 to 2019. While participating in the 20th India-Russia Summit, PM recalled the India-Russia Summit of November 2001 when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the PM. Narendra Modi was part of his delegation as Gujarat CM. While the first day of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Vladivostok visit focused on further strengthening bilateral ties between India and Russia, Day 2 of his visit will be largely about taking this cooperation to a multilateral fora as PM addresses the plenary of Eastern Economic Forum and holds bilaterals with world leaders. And the day closed with both leaders bringing the Far East near. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, accompanied by President Putin, visited Street of the Far East exhibition capturing the warm culture of Eastern Coast. The Russian Far East opened its arms to Indians decades ago, boosting people-to-people ties between the two countries. Even amidst a light drizzle, the two leaders showed keen interest in the exhibits, including some from the defense sector. With Sudhakar Das, Mark Lin in Vladivostok for TD News.
And if Day 1 was landmark, Day 2 will be groundbreaking. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing the plenary session of the Eastern Economic Forum. He will be the first Indian Prime Minister to be doing so. The Eastern Economic Forum assumes greater importance as India attempts to develop strong economic and commercial relations in the far eastern region of Russia.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to attend the Eastern Economic Forum at Vladivostok as a chief guest on the invitation of Russian President Vladimir Putin. He will address the plenary session at the event.
ईस्टर्न इकोनॉमिक फोरम के लिए मुझे आपका निमंत्रण बहुत सम्मान का विषय है। दोनों देशों के बीच सहयोग को एक नया आयाम देने के लिए यह एक नया ऐतिहासिक अवसर है। इस फोरम में भाग लेने के लिए मैं बहुत ही उत्सुकता से प्रतीक्षा कर रहा हूँ। आपकी इस दूरगामी पहल के लिए मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ।
For India, Eastern Economic Forum gains importance on many counts, including its commitment to develop strong economic and commercial relations. This region is rich in energy resources. Several potential sectors for India are coal, oil and gas, diamonds, timber and tourism. India is also exploring the possibilities of farming and manpower export to the region. With the opening of the Northern Sea route, eastern Russia is now more accessible and the possibility of oil and gas supplies from the Arctic has also opened up. There are several sessions involving India at the 5th Eastern Economic Forum. Among them are harnessing of power of youth, logistics, a digital pathway, human capital in Eurasia, and Russia-India business dialogue.
A second emerging pillar is the Vladivostok Eastern Economic Forum Summit and the focus of the Prime Minister in seeing how we can build relations with the Russian Far East. We are looking at not just the energy sector here, we are looking at the resources sector, we are looking at the forestry sector, we are looking at the agricultural sector.
The EEF is held on the campus of the Far Eastern Federal University, one of Russia's oldest universities, and gives the students a chance to experience world affairs right on their campus. Russia has been holding the EEF every year since 2015. India has had a regular high-level political level attendance in Eastern Economic Forum. The previous editions of the forum have been attended by former Commerce and Industry Minister in 2018 and former External Affairs Minister in 2017.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to the Eastern Economic Forum is expected to present a vision for India's engagement with this picturesque region, the Russian Far East. It is also expected to match India's intention to build a $5 trillion economy in a short span of time, with the Russian Far East's potential to be a major engine of that growth. With cameraman Loknath and my colleagues Amit Sahu and Sudhakar Das, this is Mark Lin, DD News, Vladivostok.
And you know what that is set up? That's set up by In Focus, which is tonight dawn of new era in India-Russia ties. And we have Ajay Malhotra to talk about it, former Indian ambassador to Russia. And Mr. Malhotra, first up, you've been an ambassador there. What that has happened today and what's going to happen tomorrow excites you the most about this time around the engagement of India with Russia?
I would say two things. Firstly, the way we are intensifying our cooperation in oil and gas. We have for a long time been involved in the oil and gas sector in Siberia and the Russian Far East. In fact, India has invested a little over $15 billion. If you look at Sakhalin, Imperial Energy, and Tasyurak, and other fields. And Russia in turn has invested over $13 billion in India through SR Oil. So that is one sector. But the interesting part is that they are now looking also at a 5-year roadmap for cooperation, looking at LNG. And that whole issue of Vladivostok, Chennai, and 4 of the MOUs being signed comes into focus. Secondly, I would say, again, we have been into diamonds, which come from the Sakha Republic, again in that part of the eastern part of Russia. But now we are looking beyond, for example, coking coal and how we can exploit it. And I would say the most interesting part, the issue of manpower. Because for the Russians, a shortage of manpower is an issue and a concern. As you may know, their population is now stagnant in growth terms.
Particularly in that part of the country where I believe the ratio is 1 person per square kilometer almost.
Very true. Though the reason for that is much of it is unusable in the sense that there's a lot of resources there, but you have permafrost and is very inaccessible most of the year. But in terms of having Russia having a neighbor to the south whose populations have come in and are up there, so they do have a concern in that sense. And for India it is of interest because we have trained manpower. I'm not talking of just ordinary manpower, but professionals also who could go there and make a difference for the Russian economy. So these are interesting aspects, I think, that need to be looked at.
Right. And in the middle of all this, the kind of stand that President Putin has taken as far as India and its stand on Kashmir is concerned, what do you make of his strong voice on the subject at this juncture when Pakistan has been screaming brew murder internationally?
Well, I don't think Russia's position should on this issue should have been in doubt. In fact, when you had that informal consultation of the Security Council, the Russian ambassador was the only one who spoke outside in the corridor at the media stakeout and said Russia's position. He was asked what is Russia's position. He said we want the two countries to sort this out in line with the Simla agreement. So and knowing President Putin and his own views in this matter, I don't find it at all surprising that he should be so clear-cut in saying that.
And the alignment is also in that both countries do not appreciate any third parties coming in and saying that, basically interfering in a way in internal matters of any nation.
Surely, because in the Russian viewpoint also, this is what has happened on Article 370 and 35A are really India's internal concerns and of really no relevance or concern of any other country.
Right. And in terms of what has happened today and those 15 agreements, MOUs as well as statements, why do you think this is the best time to be doing this? Why couldn't it happen earlier? Or would it have been better if we could have got this moving along a little later when, because there are challenges right now as well. The economic challenge is pretty huge globally.
Well, let's look at it in context. As you know, we have been having these summits annually with Russia. It's the only country with whom we have had so many summits, 20 in a row without a break. And if you look back, we opened our consulate general in Vladivostok in 1992. 1991, the country fell apart. The dismantling of the Soviet Union. 92, we were there. One reason being Bolshoi Kamen, the port which and the shipyard Zvezda, which our Prime Minister visited, which has a role also in defense in making these icebreakers, including the making and refitting of our INS Chakra, the nuclear powered submarine which we have at the moment, also came out from there. But if you look at why now, I think one reason which may not have been mentioned there is really the impact of global warming and the opening up of the northern sea route, because that allows now regular 24/7 by 365 access to Novatech, for example, and the LNG resources in the Arctic North. And it makes it therefore relevant that from Vladivostok, which is the end point of all the pipelines that come in getting oil and gas, because it's a major port on the Russian Far East. So you can send all those through ships as LNG to India, and we have a suction demand.
Is it also in part because of the pivot to Asia that President Putin has done ever since those sanctions came in from the West because of Ukraine?
Well, the pivot to Asia would have given a boost to starting off this whole Eastern Economic Forum. It's 5 years old at the moment.
Yes.
And if you see time-wise, it matches up. But beyond that, and if you see also Russia's main export capabilities, it is beyond, if you look at defense and nuclear energy, it is really raw materials. So there is an interest up there. We require for our power plants, for example, coking coal, which we will get from there. Tata Power has signed an agreement. Earlier we were getting it from Australia, now that's become a problem. So the flow in terms of energy and the energy bridge, and the visit by our Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, before this set in place all of this these possibilities.
And in somewhere the ultimate aim also is that Russia helps India in Make in India, and India helps Russia in Make in Russia.
Certainly, because there are many sectors in which we become more competitive when we do things together. One is civil aviation, for example, and if you see another agreement has been signed up there that we will also try and see assembling of civilian aircraft in India. This is a long-standing proposal that the Russians have voiced at the very highest level, and I'm fairly certain that President Putin would have told our Prime Minister this again, that we must do something about it. And India is now, I think we have made our first 1920-seater plane, but not on a commercial scale. We should be making many. If you look at the demand, and if you look at Russia and India even as buyers, you got enough. Look at the size of Russia, look at the many cities of India. The demand of these two countries itself will satisfy the production of a normal sized aircraft plant. So there is much that we can do together, and I'm very happy to see that many of these ideas are moving ahead, and that the personal chemistry between the two leaders is helping move it forward at a faster pace.
That is something that the Prime Minister dwelled on quite a bit today.
Yes, if you
harking back to when he was Gujarat Chief Minister, when he visited Russia for the first time.
Yes, and again, if you look back, both of them have been in power for roughly the same amount of time. Putin has been president for 4 years Prime Minister since the year 2000, and Honorable Narendra Modi has been Chief Minister of Gujarat, or our Prime Minister, again since the year 2000. And they met for the first time in 2001 when our Prime Minister, then the Gujarat Chief Minister, had gone along with the delegation of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee for the second annual summit, and signed an agreement on twinning of the cities of Astrakhan on the Caspian Sea and Ahmedabad. And I was very happy to see in our joint statement that we have said that we will continue to put emphasis on these twinning agreements, because beyond cooperation amongst the two governments, which is at a very, very good level and a very high level, it is important to cultivate also and promote this sort of people-to-people contacts, and twinning of cities, which earlier we used to not be too much in favor of, is really the right way to go ahead.
But how do you assess the progress, in terms of I think 2014 was also a landmark year when the summit happened. There was Rosba Dosti, and now it seems to be Rosba Dosti 2.0. So how do you assess, the last 5 years in terms of what was promised and what was delivered, and then, extrapolate that to the next 5 years from here on?
Well, if you look at it in trade and economic terms, and here I would like to emphasize the trade, investment and economic terms.
Investment
Much
is
has
a
been,
big
because if you look at trade, much of it doesn't show up in our figures, and they will always look a little kind of low. For example, defense. Our defense purchases don't show up in our trade figures. For example, diamonds. We are a major
Even
purchaser.
this time around, $14.5 billion is the figure being quoted by Russian officials in terms of the kind of agreements that we've had in the defense sector.
Yes, but none of that will show up in your trade figures. And diamonds imported from Russia via Antwerp or via Jerusalem, and they come into India. They show up in trade between India and EU, India and Israel, but not. And from here they exported to USA. One of our major exports to USA are these same cut and polished diamonds, which are Russian diamonds, and go as set jewelry, which is sold in USA. But this also doesn't show up. Oil and gas. As I told you, we have put in $15 billion worth of there, but since those particular grades of oil could not be refined in our refineries on the west coast, they also don't show up in our figures. We sell them on the high sea.
And
but now gas will show up.
How do you dispel the perception that some people seem to have that it's all because, especially in the Far East, is because Russia is trying to hedge its best bets between two rising Asian giants?
I wouldn't look at it in that sense, in that way. I think it is more genuine interest on the part of Russia to promote and to have alternatives. If you see, there's a lot of South Korean investment that has come into that part of Russia because Republic of Korea didn't join in the sanctions against Russia. Japan did, and there's an issue there. And if you look at from India's side, yes, we have interests up there. China is certainly a dominant country in that region, and the Russians do understand it. But do they feel threatened? I think they got the muscle. I think whether you look at it in terms of defense or nuclear or other terms, I don't see them as doing it as a balancing. And in fact, the interest might be more on our side in promoting manpower and trying to find employment opportunities.
Even if Russia is hedging its bets, I mean, it's more than welcome to do it, because we would stand to gain in any case. But last and not the least, let's talk about how the US would be viewing all this, because the US has always had problems with India dealing with Russia, Iran. They put them in the same league, and there's CATSA and everything.
Well, I wouldn't call it as a zero-sum game. Our relations with Russia and USA stand on their own feet separately. We want the best of relations with USA, and that's the right way to go. But that doesn't mean that there's any complication, or any complication should come in our relations with Russia. I think President Trump also understands that, and if you see,
because oil and gas is also a concern for them, apart from military hardware and everything else.
Yes, because right now USA is the number one in terms of oil and gas production, and therefore they would look for.
We're buying from them as well.
We would be buying from them also.
We need to have a good energy mix and good sources of getting that energy as well, even if it's the same source of energy, oil or gas.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there has been that stoppage of imports from Iran, which has set in. So we need to also diversify our opportunities and possibilities, which is what we are doing.
And we need to go where that particular resource is available.
Certainly, and Russia, USA, and Saudi Arabia are the top three, in terms of oil, and especially for LNG, I would say. Russia has, beyond Qatar, in our situation, Russia has a lot to offer. And more than that, because LNG, you can't just say, I want to buy LNG off the shelf. You have to extrapolate your demand several years ahead.
Yes.
Which
is why there was a renegotiation as well of our deal with them.
Correct, because they had been signed 5-6 years earlier, and then you find now that was unreal
I'm going to
price.
try and squeeze in a last question about where does Russia lie? Equally interested in OBOR and the North-South corridor, or is it leaning towards one?
Well, the International North-South Transportation Corridor is a Russian proposal.
Okay.
And so they definitely are very keen on it. The problem is it goes through Iran, and with all these issues, The concern is more that industrialists on both sides may not want to use it out of concern that they might come under some American or other sanctions. As to OBOR, Russia initially was not interested that much in OBOR. They wanted that belt to be tied much higher up.
But we've had an investment guarantee pact of sorts for the Far East as well in these agreements that we've had. Why can't be similar? Why can't there be similar agreements if it comes to the North-South corridor or OBOR?
No, actually, there's no problem with the North-South transportation corridor being used. The concern is that private industrialists would feel, why take that risk and get involved? I have ties and investments or linkages with USA, and why not? Why should I now at this moment get involved with all of this? So no amount of agreements of that kind.
But that same concern could be for OBOR as well.
OBOR, India is not interested in OBOR for the reason that you well know.
Yes.
And we certainly do not encourage
I was talking about private concerns.
I don't see who would be in India would be using OBOR. Certainly, it is not in our interest, and there's nothing that we can't even send things into Pakistan. So via Pakistan onwards, it's not going to happen.
Yes, it's a no-go for us at all.
OBOR is a no-no.
Yes. Well, we'll have to leave it there for the moment and see what happens tomorrow. It is going to be a long day as well, and we'll have a lot more to talk about. Thanks so much for joining us for the moment, Ajay Malhotra.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on now and talk about what's happening elsewhere, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Putin discussed the Kashmir issue as well. The PM thanked President Putin for his clear and categorical support for India on the issue.
The Prime Minister explained to President Putin at length about the rationale behind the government's decision. The Prime Minister also explained the manner in which false and misleading information was being given on this matter. And the Prime Minister thanked Russia and President Putin for his very clear and strong support to India on this issue. So overall, I think that was a very useful exchange they had. And it is our understanding that Russia stands very firmly behind India on this matter.
Okay, now as India's efforts at restoring normal life in Jammu and Kashmir after the partial abrogation of Article 370 bear fruit, Pakistan's frustration has been growing. Not only has it been making flop show attempts at internationalizing the issue, it is also resorting to its down the beaten track tactic of disrupting peace using terrorism. But it's failing miserably at that as well. India's alert and brave security forces are ensuring that Pakistan fails and fails again. Take a look.
Another day in the Kashmir Valley without daytime restrictions. Normalcy prevailed after 5th of August abrogation of Jammu and Kashmir's special status. Over 90% of the valley, over 92 police stations, have been without daytime restrictions for days now. It has led to free movement of people and vehicles, good attendance in schools of both students and teachers, government offices buzzing with activity. Inter-district transport has also picked up with autos and cabs running their services. Markets too are busy, even street vendors are doing brisk business. The Jammu and Kashmir police has said that since the abrogation action, no civilian casualty has taken place in the maintenance of law and order. The police believes the situation is improving bit by bit and complete normalcy is just round the corner.
Things are improving gradually and hopefully things must fall in place and normalcy will return very soon. Since 5th of August this year, one thing which we have ensured and touched wood, we have been very successful in that no civil casualty in any law and order action has taken place.
Meanwhile, security forces are keeping their crushing campaign on to stamp out terrorism from the state. The forces arrested 2 Pakistani Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists who were attempting to infiltrate into Kashmir. Both the Pakistani nationals were arrested on 21st of August. Both had been stationed at Pakistani Army's forward posts, and it was Pakistani soldiers who helped them infiltrate into Jammu and Kashmir.
Pakistan is desperate to infiltrate maximum terrorists into Kashmir Valley. All the launch pads as of now are full and infiltration attempts are being made every day to infiltrate the terrorists into Kashmir Valley to disrupt peace. In one such attempt, on 21st of August, we have apprehended two Pakistani nationals. Pakistan Army and the citizens of Pakistan are being pushed into Kashmir Valley to undertake the terrorist activities inside the Kashmir Valley to disrupt the peace which is prevailing, especially after 5th of August.
Two videos were also played out during the joint briefing by the Army and the Jammu and Kashmir Police. They showed two Pakistani terror captives admitting to infiltrating the country. They also said that not just along the LOC and in Kashmir, but launch pads of different terror outfits are ready also at border close to Poonch, Rajouri and Jammu. Daily infiltration attempts are still on.
All the launch pads across the line of control, not only opposite Kashmir, but also opposite Poonch, Rajouri and Jammu, are full of terrorists of various tanzeems, and every day and night the terrorist activities of infiltration are being attempted.
The security forces are not allowing any let-up in their campaign to eradicate terrorism from Jammu and Kashmir. Several terrorists have either been killed or forced to return across the border. Clearly, ever since the abrogation of Article 370, Pakistan has been fuming to such an extent that it's been trying to infiltrate terrorists into the valley on a daily basis. But the security forces have not only foiled the attempts, but also exposed Pakistan's true face to the world with evidence. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings up our second focus of the evening, and that's Pakistan terror attacks exposed in Jammu and Kashmir. We've got Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni with us, well-known security expert. Good evening and welcome to the show. General Kulkarni, what do you make of what has happened today in terms of how openly Pakistan has been exposed by security forces? They got hold of two Lashkar Pakistan origin terrorists and they spilled the beans.
Gautam, if you look at it, all along we've been saying that Pakistan is the hub of terrorism. Pakistan is using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. Pakistan has been attempting to infiltrate. What better that these two Pakistani nationals have been caught, and they have disclosed and have accepted that yes, they were trained and they were helped and pushed across the LOC by the Pakistan Army, and also that the camps have been activated, that training is going on, that there are Lashkar-e-Taiba, there are Jaish-e-Mohammed militants being trained, and we know it that since 5th of August, the number of ceasefire violations have been around 200 in number, all attempting to push all this. Pakistan has been doing that. Pakistan believes in lies, deceit, deception. That's what Pakistan is all about. However, having said what we have, imagine, I look at it, that Mattis in his book called Beyond Cures has written very clearly that Pakistan is a dangerous state primarily because it is radicalized. It's nuclear radicalized and dangerous. Obsession with India. Gautam, the worst are obsession with India all along. It's only India, and that is what is dangerous. And Pakistan needs to understand this, that when it is economically shattered, it's politically divided within its own nation, it's diplomatically isolated. I think it's time, rather than spreading lies and deceit, must accept the reality and must make sure that however hard they might want to bring in, the chaos in Kashmir Valley, it is not possible now. The Kashmiris have realized that they have all along been taken for a ride, not only by the local politicians, but also by Pakistan. And the abrogation of 370, I'm sure, will bring in jobs, will bring in economic prosperity. Imagine Kashmir is 50% of the GDP of virtually states which is there. A state like Himachal has $22 billion and Kashmir has only 18, and Himachal has half the population of Kashmir. Right. Goa has half the GDP of Kashmir and 1/10 of the population. And the amount of money that we've invested in Kashmir, now hopefully with all these punches being activated, you will realize that the Home Minister himself has offered jobs. The Governor has said that he's going to come out with jobs for people concerned. So you will find slowly and steadily state will come
Which
back
is
to
why
normalcy.
Pakistan is getting very antsy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And state is limping back to normalcy. You find all these is propaganda. You find everything is available. One has to just go there and see for oneself the kind of traffic that is flowing, the food available, medicine
we
available,
get reports
everything.
every day. We're putting it out also for our viewers. Our reporters are very active in the field over there in different parts of Jammu and Kashmir, in multiple parts of the Kashmir Valley itself, and things are getting back to normal. And very soon, that's what the Home Minister had said. He had assured a delegation of local representatives who had called on him just the other day that things will get normalized and you can even get statehood again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just imagine the Home Minister, once he said all sarpanchs and sarpanchs who are there, whose lives are threatened, they are insured for 2 lakhs. He has also said that all of these people will be provided with security. He devolved, the money will now be given to at the panchayat level, and therefore the economic activity would be seen. You will find improvements taking place. Having become the union territory in itself is a big boom.
Right.
The kind of allowances everybody are going to get of the union territory vis-a-vis what they were getting in state and what it is now. You see the kind of people responding to even recruitment rallies of the security forces. So there is going to be a sea change. The Kashmiris have to have faith and trust. They must realize it that they've been taken for a ride. They must realize it that yes, the abrogation and having become a union territory is good for them economically, socially, educational, political, in all respects. And once that thing dawns into their mind that yes, it is for their good, you will see changes happening on ground. And I per se, I can tell you, being there for so many years, that there will be changes. However, there are challenges, but we know how to go about it.
Yes, but at the same time, we need to be vigilant, and we have shown vigilance, which is why we managed to get two of these Lashkar fellows in our captivity, spilling the beans in Pakistan. But look at what is being done. Look at what happened at the High Commission in London.
That was bad, Gautam. I personally think that this is the kind of propaganda, and therefore a number of times when people start saying that well, at the time of partition that there was a hidden agenda, these kind of things do somehow come out in a manner which is not good. UK, though there are a lot of people from Pak occupied Kashmir, there are a lot of people, and I'm sure Pakistan is also investing in over there. And I wouldn't want to say that the mayor or anybody would be involved. That would be incorrect because I don't have any proof with me to say so. But notwithstanding that, I think the kind of demonstrations that are being shown are nothing but propaganda. And that based on propaganda, you will soon find it will fall through. People from there, and sometimes the Rota and sometimes even the BBC sometimes comes out with fake news and not actually based on facts which are there on the ground, must not sort of, I wouldn't say that they must not support these kind of things. They must come strongly. It is not good to have kind of rallies outside the Indian High Commission.
Yes.
That is not good. I don't think UK must realize it.
Because no matter what is done, Pakistan will not find support as far as the international forum is concerned. Any international body, any international grouping, it will not find support except for one friend that it has, and who happens to be our neighbor as well.
Well, all-weather friend China has been supporting Pakistan. There is no denying the fact. But I am convinced and sure Chinese must be telling Pakistan that resolve your issues bilaterally. It is in your interest you do it. It's time, and but China can go up to a certain extent, trying to help Pakistan to show its support, as always it has been doing so. But at the end of it, Chinese will soon realize it's not worth it, and I have no doubt in my mind Chinese must be advising the Pakistanis that do not go beyond a certain limit. We may not be able to help you all at all.
And what is the US doing at this stage? In terms of if you look at what is happening, the latest in Afghanistan, the US's efforts to get its troops out, isn't it giving some sort of a lever to Pakistan at really the wrong time?
Pakistan has been playing this game and blackmailing the United States to say that, look, you invest about $50 billion in your troops in Afghanistan. You've been telling us and wanting to give us $1.3 billion and things of the small. You give us 50% and we'll help you. US understands.
Because then President Trump comes up with these things like India needs to put boots on the ground in Afghanistan, which is like inconceivable for us.
You know, US needs to pull out its troops. That's what President Trump has been wanting, that the US must pull out its troops. But pulling out can't be being blackmailed by Pakistan at all times. And Pakistan seems to feel that, yes, Pakistan is responsible for training Taliban. Not right now. Even when they were pushing out, they helped America pull out the Russians from there. And now themselves in a bind, they don't know what to do with it. And Pakistan is busy blackmailing US to say that, well, we can help you provided you give us some economic aid. But that's not possible at all times. And therefore, Pakistan is on the back foot. US has to go, will get tough. Much that they might give economic aid, but not at the cost of its own, I think, reputation, which America is there. Yes, the Pakistanis want that the troops being pulled out, they will be used against India, but that is not possible. We are prepared, and they know that Pakistan conventionally is on the back foot, and proxy war is not likely to succeed anymore in Kashmir.
And you know, somewhere I get this feeling, and some other people also share it, that, you know, with the way things that are going in Pakistan, Imran Khan's days in the Prime Minister's chair could be numbered, and the more he raises a hue and cry about India and Kashmir, the shorter that stay might be.
Gautam, this is something, Imran's given 3 years extension to Bajwa to stay there.
Yes.
Bajwa is going to be there as long as Imran is there. So it's kind of Imran is a puppet of Bajwa. Bajwa is controlling everything from behind.
But what happened when Imran Khan says one fine day that, you know, no first use, and then the next day his foreign ministry says, well, our policy hasn't changed?
You know, after all, the foreign policy and the state security lies with Bajwa. He is the man who's controlling it. These people might do kind of, the way statements are coming out from Imran Khan, you find there the other one, Rashid, giving kind of statements, Qureshi giving all kinds of statements, we are all going to war. This warmongering and these statements is nothing, diverting the attention of their own people, becoming like a crybaby, trying to draw the attention of the entire world that, look, Pakistan is the one which is suffering of all this kind of from terrorism. They don't seem to realize that Pakistan itself has been harboring, and today if the snakes that they were trying to pet all along in the backyard are now getting at them. So Pakistan is on the back foot, and it's time Pakistan realized it. I'm surprised sometimes how Pakistan doesn't seem to know this India obsession has to come out of the Pakistan head. This mindset has to change if there has to be peace prevailing over here.
Yes, certainly if Pakistan wants to make any progress in any sphere, I mean, they lifted their ban on trading with India to get in some drugs for their, you know, critically ill, but some better sense prevailing there, but a very limited quarter of better sense prevailing, but we'll have to wait and see how things go. For the moment, Pakistan choosing to do its worst, but not having much impact as far as India is concerned. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment. Okay, moving on, India and Pakistan have broadly agreed on modalities of visa-free travel by Indian pilgrims to Gurdwara Darbar Sahib in Pakistan using the Kartarpur corridor. But both sides have failed to finalize a draft agreement over insistence of Pakistan on charging a service fee from Indian pilgrims and not allowing protocol officials to accompany them.
India and Pakistan on Wednesday agreed on visa-free travel of Indian pilgrims to Gurdwara Darbar Sahib using the Kartarpur corridor. The third round of talks between the two nations on the Kartarpur corridor concluded at Atari in Amritsar. 20-member delegation from Pakistan had reached Atari for the talks, while the Indian side comprised of representatives from Ministry of External Affairs, Defence Ministry, Home Ministry, Punjab Government and NHAI. The two sides agreed on visa-free travel of Indian pilgrims to Gurdwara Darbar Sahib in Pakistan without any restrictions. Persons of Indian origin holding overseas Citizenship of India card too can visit the Gurdwara using the Kartarpur corridor. The corridor will be operational throughout the year and 7 days a week, and pilgrims will have a choice to visit it as individuals or in groups.
Both sides have today agreed to build a bridge at Budhi Ravi channel, and pending the construction of the bridge on the Pakistan side, which is expected to take some time. On our side we are already on schedule, but on the Pakistan side it is expected to take some time. So pending the construction of the bridge on their side, both sides have agreed to a crossing point, the coordinates of a crossing point for the temporary service road, which is to be built for the pilgrimage which is to commence in November this year.
However, during the meeting, Pakistan insisted on charging a service fee for allowing pilgrims to visit the Gurdwara, which was not agreeable to the Indian side. Pakistan has also shown its unwillingness to allow the presence of Indian consular or protocol officials at the Gurdwara premises. Pakistani side was urged to reconsider the position.
फीस चार्जिंग के इशू पे जो कि हमारे लिए एक अहम मुद्दा है और हम बिल्कुल इस स्पिरिट को रेस्पेक्ट करते हुए हम पाकिस्तान से उम्मीद करते हैं कि ये पीपल्स प्रोजेक्ट है, ये कोई और दूसरे किस्म का नहीं, ये बिल्कुल एक पीपल्स प्रोजेक्ट है। लोगों की सेंटिमेंट को देखते हुए अक्रॉस रिलीजियस फेथ, अक्रॉस नेशनैलिटीज़, उसको देखते हुए ये किया जा रहा है। तो हम पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट से उम्मीद करेंगे कि फ़ीस वाले मसले पे वे थोड़ी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी दिखाएं और हमारी रिक्वेस्ट को मंजूर करें।
It was also decided that 5,000 pilgrims can visit the shrine every day. The pilgrims will have to just obtain a permit to visit Kartarpur Sahib, which was established in 1522 by Sikh faith founder Guru Nanak Dev. Kartarpur is located in Pakistan's Narowal district across the Ravi River, about 4 kilometers from Dera Baba Nanak. Indian side also urged Pakistan to allow additional pilgrims on special occasions. The Pakistani officials have agreed to look into the feasibility of the same. It will also be a first visa-free corridor between the two neighbours since their independence in 1947. India is building the corridor from Dera Baba Nanak in Punjab's Gurdaspur district up to the border, while Pakistan is building the other part of the corridor from border to Gurdwara Darbar Sahib in Kartarpur. Indian side is committed to commence Kartarpur corridor on the auspicious occasion of 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev. With inputs from Abhishek Jha in Atari, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The second deorbiting maneuver for Chandrayaan-2 spacecraft was performed successfully today, beginning 0342 hours Indian Standard Time as planned, using the onboard propulsion system. The duration of the maneuver was 9 seconds. The orbit of Vikram lander is 35 kilometers by 101 kilometers. Chandrayaan-2 orbiter continues to orbit the moon in an orbit of 96 by 125 kilometers, and both the orbiter and lander are healthy. With this maneuver, the required orbit for the Vikram lander to commence its descent towards the surface of the moon on the south pole has been achieved. The lander is scheduled to power descent between 0100 to 0200 hours Indian Standard Time on the 7th of September, which is Friday night, and then this will be followed by a touchdown of the lander between 0130 and 0230 hours Indian Standard Time, again Saturday, but that actually is, well, if you look at it, Friday night. Now, India Pavilion at the UNCCD COP14 session has been launched for showcasing the success stories and achievements of India, depicting the nexus between land, water, energy, biodiversity, climate change, science and technology. And it is quite a deco.
India is currently hosting the 14th session of the Conference of Parties, or COP14, of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. In the global conference, Indian Pavilion has been conceptualized for showcasing India's progress and achievements towards the goal of land degradation neutrality by 2030. There are many sessions being held at the India Pavilion by various government departments, state governments, NGOs, educational institutes and other stakeholders. The pavilion showcases India's achievements on land, water, environment restoration and rejuvenation. The pavilion also showcases success stories related to land restoration and sustainable land management practices.
Space has been created not just by the ministry but with the help of many other organizations which are working on environment and wildlife in India. It's a lovely space where people can come and talk about issues that perhaps have been missed otherwise.
इंडिया पवेलियन एक्चुअली ये सेंटर में इस्टेब्लिश है और ढेर सारे आप देखें यहाँ लोगों ने लगा भी रखे हैं, स्टॉल लगा रखे हैं, जीवी पंत ने लगाया है, ये इसरो वालों ने लगा रखा है और ये बीच सेंटर में होने के कारण मैक्सिमम जो ऑडियंस है वो यहाँ आ पाती है और ओपन एरिया में है और जो मेट हैं वो सब क्लोज रहते हैं, इसलिए वहाँ जाने में एक बार हिचकते भी हैं लोग।
भारत किसी भी मामले में या किसी भी क्षेत्र में वो प्रगति में पीछे नहीं है और आज जो दुनिया के विभिन्न देश जो आज यूएनसीसीडी के इस प्रोग्राम में नई दिल्ली आए हुए हैं, हम उनका अपने विभिन्न क्षेत्रों के होने वाली प्रगति को दिखा रहे हैं, प्रोग्रेस को दिखा रहे हैं।
A dedicated area has been provided for ISRO to showcase their model and information videos of their success stories. There is also a 3D representation of the Jal Jeevan mission, showcasing model on rainwater harvesting and concept of saving water. Videos related to awareness generation and community participation in environment conservation, flora and fauna, land degradation and restoration process of cold desert will also be showcased. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD News, Greater Noida.
The bad weather curse returned on Mumbai streets as heavy rains pounded the city. Mumbai and other parts of Maharashtra causing flooding in many areas. Several trains had to be cancelled, flights got delayed as the city struggled to cope with the deluge. So much so that the BMC had to open up its schools as temporary shelters to stranded commuters. And the Met Department has predicted more trouble tomorrow. In fact, it's a red alert day.
Mumbai's rains woes returned with fury on Wednesday as incessant rainfall left the deluge of problems for the people. Red alert has been issued in several areas and the administration is geared up to tackle any untoward situation. As per the Met Department, out of 150 weather stations, 100 weather stations received 20 mm of rainfall within last 24 hours.
रायगढ़ जिला के लिए भी कई कई जगह आपका अत्यंत भारी बारिश चेतावनी दिया गया। मुंबई, थाने, पालघर यहाँ पे कल भी बारिश से अति भारी बारिश इशारा है।
It has caused waterlogging in low-lying areas. Many roads were flooded and in some areas the water also entered houses. Chaos prevailed as many vehicles were stuck in several places.
पानी भर जाता है कभी तो फिर इधर मतलब पानी रहता है तो गाड़ी आ जाती है तो गाड़ी भी मतलब पानी से उड़ता रहता है तो फिर उधर कभी गटर का वो ढक्कन भी खुला रहता है तो ढक्कन कभी डर लगता है कभी कोई गिर ना जाए तो गिरेगा तो मतलब कैसा बचाएंगे उसको।
Red alert has been issued in Mumbai and its adjoining areas including Thane and Palghar. Due to the low pressure in Bay of Bengal, Mumbai, Palghar and Thane are receiving heavy rainfall. Met Department said the rainfall is expected to continue till the next 24 hours. Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation issued an order as a precautionary measure stating that schools to remain closed. Heavy rainfall in midnight also impacted operation of flights. Palghar and Thane regions have received 204 mm rainfall within last 24 hours. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And it's time now for some more national updates with our regional roundup.
The Office of Director General of Rajasthan Police issued an order prohibiting the usage of mobile phones by police personnel while on duty. The order issued by the DGP states that it has been observed that the mobile phone usage diverts the attention of the police personnel. A Delhi court has sent Karnataka Congress leader DK Shivkumar to Enforcement Directorate custody in money laundering case till September 13th. The senior leader was arrested on Tuesday after being interrogated by the Enforcement Directorate over the past several days. Andhra Pradesh Cabinet has approved the report submitted by Anjanaya Reddy Committee on merger of Andhra Pradesh State Road Transport Corporation with the state government. APS-RTC employees will now be recognized as government employees. Andhra Pradesh Cabinet also approved the cancellation of the Polavaram hydropower contract with Navyuga Engineering Company worth Rs 3,216 crore. Polavaram project is an under-construction multi-purpose national project on the Godavari River in Andhra Pradesh designed to overcome the water deficit. The project is entirely funded by the centre. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat has announced that people undergoing HIV treatment can avail free travel service in the state buses to anti-retroviral therapy centres to avail medical facilities. The people who are the residents of the state and are undergoing treatment will also be given Rs 1,000 as pension. Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad K. Sangma along with Home Minister James K. Sangma and Airport Authority of India officials inspected the Baljek Airport in West Garo Hills district. He discussed measures to speed up intervention to make the airport operational.
And that's all we could pack in Newsnight tonight. For all the latest, stay tuned to DD India.
Welcome to this episode of Eureka. We are going to have a really wonderful conversation with Dr. Sanjeev Agarwal. He was the former Additional Director of Central Pollution Control Board. He has been there for almost 4 decades, almost from its inception. So talking to him, we are going to walk through the history of pollution control and mitigation in this country. Keep watching this Eureka, but before that, we'll take a quick look at his brief profile. After that, this conversation will continue.
Having over 37 years' experience, Dr. Sanjeev Agarwal was working in Central Pollution Control Board since